This is an audiovisual study guide for Chapter 22 of Dana Harris's Introduction to Biblical Greek Grammar, and this is a large chapter. Present imperative forms. To build present imperative forms, we begin with the present tense stem, use a connecting vowel, and add imperative ending. So you've got the present tense stem lu, connecting vowel epsilon, imperative ending, tosan, leads to the inflected form, lueteson, luetosan. The second person singular imperative endings are irregular and must be memorized. So epsilon for present active and second aorist active, u for present middle and passive, second aorist middle, on for first aorist active, I for first aorist middle, and T for aorist passive. Present and aorist imperative forms, the remaining endings are regular. So you can see here, regular endings for third singular toe, and active and aorist passive. In the middle, sto. Second plural is te and ste. Third plural is tosan and stosan. So here are the present imperative forms: lue, you release; lueto, let him, her, it release. Second singular, third singular. You can pause the video and look through them here. You will be learning these paradigms. For the aorist imperative forms, the first aorist active and middle imperative use the tense formative sa, and the first aorist passive imperative uses the tense formative they. To build a first aorist active imperative form, we begin with the aorist tense stem, use a tense formative, and add an imperative ending. So you got the aorist tense stem lu, tense formative sa, imperative ending tosan, leading to the inflected form lusatosan. So you can see the aorist imperative forms here. Lusan, lusai, lutheti, for the second singular, active, middle, and passive. For the third singular, lusato, lusasto, lutheto. And you can pause the video and look through the rest of the paradigm here. Again, you will be learning these paradigms for the chapter. So here's the second aorist imperative forms. You've got, for the second singular, labe, for the active, middle, genu, passive, epistrapheti. So again, you can look through these on your own. You can pause the video, look through them. You need to become familiar with them for this chapter. Forms of the imperative for contract verbs. The same vowel contraction rules that apply to forms of contract verbs are built from the present stem apply to the present imperative forms of contract verbs. The aorist forms have a lengthened stem vowel before the tense formative. So for the present second singular, active, tima, timo for middle, ploye for active, ployu for middle, playru for active, playru for middle. For third singular, timato for active, timasto for middle, ployeto for active, ployesto for middle, playruto for active, playrusto for middle. You can pause the video and look through the plural forms on your own. Forms of the imperative for contract verbs. For the aorist, ployeson, ployesai for the middle, ployetheti for the passive. Again, you can pause and look through the paradigm on your own time. Functions of the imperative commands. This is the most common. Lege avto akluthe boy. He said to him, follow me. Edi de tis umon nepetai sophias aiteto para theu. But if any of you asks wisdom, let that one ask God. Third person imperative, we'll talk a little bit more about how to translate that. Pantas timesate ten adelphoteta agapete ton theon phobeste ton basilea timate. Honor all, love the brothers and sisters, fear God, honor the king. You will also see the imperative use as commands in prayer. Prohibitions. These are used to forbid an action and use the negative particle may or cognates. In the second person, prohibitions, Greek sometimes uses a present imperative, but an aorist subjunctive is much more common, which we covered when we looked at subjunctive. So prohibition function in tense forms, first person, hortatory present subjunctive, hortatory aorist subjunctive. Second person present imperative, but aorist subjunctive. Third person present imperative, aorist imperative. Functions of the imperative. A present imperative forbids a habitual action, or in some cases commands the cessation of an ongoing action. This has to be understood from context, and it's sometimes ambiguous. Me planeste, ute pulnoi, ute edulatrai, ute moikai, asileantheu, kleronom mesusen. Do not be deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers will inherit the kingdom of God. This is translated with the simple present, do not be deceived. But it could be translated, stop being deceived, with the continuous. So it's a question of interpretation. Aorist subjunctive for second person prohibitions. Here are some examples. Meapse, mede, guse, mede, figes. Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. You've got second person prohibitions with the aorist subjunctive. Third person prohibitions use present and aorist imperatives. Epitu domatos me katabato arai ta ek tes oikias auto kai o ento agro me epistrepsato. Piso arai to himation auto. The one on the housetop must not go down to take things out of his house, and the one in the field must not turn back to take his coat. Translating third-person imperatives, the words let him, her, it, or let them are often used. He, she, it must, or they must are also used. These can sound like suggestions in English, but they are not. They are commands. Sometimes an exclamation point is used to get this across, but this is one of the advantages of knowing Greek. If you understand Greek and imperatives, you will understand that those are indeed imperatives, not suggestions. They are commands, and have a much stronger meaning than just a suggestion, which can sometimes come across in English. Reflexive pronoun forms. A reflexive pronoun refers back to the subject of the clause to indicate that the subject is performing the action upon itself. It never occurs in a nominative case. They always occur in the predicate position. Egu hagiatso emalton. I consecrate myself. Emalton. Heautus planomen. We deceive ourselves. Alus esumen sosato heauton. He saved others, let him save himself. The first person reflexive pronoun uses the prefix em. The rest of the form follows the paradigm of auto, saute, auto. This form only occurs in the singular and indicates yourself. The third person reflexive pronoun uses the prefix epsilon. This form occurs in both the singular itself and the plural themselves. The plural forms are also used for the first person and second person reflexive pronouns, ourselves, yourselves. So you see the reflexive pronoun forms here. You will have to become familiar with the reflexive pronoun paradigm for the first person. Here's the second person reflexive pronoun paradigm. You'll have to become familiar with this as well. As always, you can pause the video and review it. There will be paradigm videos available for rote learning on this channel. And here's the third person reflexive pronoun. Again, you can pause the video, go through it. There are videos on this channel to help you memorize this paradigm and take you through it with audio. Reciprocal pronoun forms. These are derived from the adjective allos and can be translated one another or each other. The action of the verb is either performed by members of a group acting upon each other or mutually applies within the group. This form does not occur in the nominative or singular. So here's the paradigm for the reciprocal pronoun. You can take a look and again, pause the video and become familiar with it. That's the end of this study guide for chapter 22. There was a lot of ground covered, and it was covered in brief because this is meant to be a review. If there's something that you do not understand, you have to go back to the book and read up on the chapter, on those concepts. You can go through the video again to double check, make sure you understand things, but this is meant to only be a review.